I'm Andrew Baxter, and I'm really happy to be here to talk to you about the importance of business planning for any size company, big or small. It's surprising in this country that only 1 in 5 businesses have a business plan. So 4 in 5, 80% of businesses in this country, and this was a survey done 2 years ago, don't actually have a business plan. But there's plenty of research that shows why it's important to have one. One of those research pieces said that companies that plan grow 30% faster than those that don't. A business plan increases your chance of growth by 48%. And then, we've all heard about those fast startup companies that do very well, those that are growing at sort of 90+% a year. Well, 71% of those have business plans in place. The other thing that a business plan does is it helps you visualize success. We all remember, might have heard that a lot of sports people visualise their performance, whether they be gymnasts or netballers or long jumpers. And there was actually a study done around long jumpers a few years ago. Those that stopped and visualised their jump before they took off down the runway actually performed better 45% of the time. And I'll talk a bit later about the importance of visualisation in business planning and how you can use shapes to help simplify and remember the key points of your business plan. Now, Professor Boris Groysberg, the #1 professor at the university, according to many, at Harvard, he talks about there being, well over 25 drivers of growth in businesses, but he talks about 4 that are not negotiable. And those 4 are around having a great strategy, executing that strategy with excellence, having the right culture to deliver that strategy, and having the right structure to deliver that strategy. What I'm going to take you through today is a bit of a framework. Business plans can be cumbersome. There's a lot of places you can find business plan templates. I think most of the bank websites have them on there for around their business section. A lot of the government platforms around business and small business certainly have templates for business planning. Even places like Officeworks have really good templates that are sitting on their websites for businesses to use. The framework I'm going to talk to you about today is how you can get your business plan, 3 to 5 year business plan, onto 4 key charts, 4 key slides, and then have 10 one-page action plans to deliver that strategy and execute it really well in year 1. Now, the first thing that we need to do is actually look at the market context. There's no point writing a business plan if we don't look at the market that we're going to operate in. Now, the first thing we need to look at there is obviously the industry that we're in and what trends there are. Clearly, a lot of things have happened post the COVID pandemic, and we're still living it in some cases. Behaviours change, certain mechanics within industries have changed. So what are those industry trends, both short-term, immediate, medium-term and long-term, that you need to be aware of in the industry that you're playing in? The next one is that, of course, businesses don't exist without customers. So who are our customers? Who are our future customers? And what are those customers going to need? I mean, that's a bit of the marketing 101 here, but it's really important to unlock whether you're a B2C type player or you're a B2B player, who are those customers and what do they need? I think it's also really important not to lose sight of what the DNA and the history of the business that you're in is. Even if you go through a merger or you pivot, there's always something around the core of your business that you need to take forward. So, I like within the context section, making sure that we're capturing that DNA so that everybody in the organisation understands what that is. The other piece, of course, is around competitors. Who are your competitors? Who are your future competitors going to be? What are they doing? How are they positioning themselves? Really important to understand that, because there's no way that you can differentiate yourself, and differentiation drives margin in businesses. You can't differentiate yourself unless you understand what your competitive set is. So look, that's a very simple explanation of the core areas around market context, but that's our first key slide. Our first key slide should summarise the industry trends, the customers, your customers' needs, really important, your DNA that you want to take forward, who your competitors are, and how you're going to differentiate yourself from them. Look, the next part of creating a great business strategy is actually creating a great story around your business. You know, we've all heard the expression an elevator pitch, the proverbial, okay, you've got 6 to 10 seconds to tell me what your business is all about in a lift. You know, but it just as easily could happen at a barbecue on the weekend. Oh, who do you work for? I work for X. Oh, what do they do? And great business plans have real clarity in that story of what that business is. What's the purpose? What's the vision? Where's that business going? You know, what's the culture, etc. So I like to, you know, there's a framework that, again, plenty of information on YouTube around Simon Sinek, and he talks about purpose brands, and a lot of my background is in advertising and brands. And he says that interesting stories get told in reverse to how they used to be. In the old days, we'd just tell the what of our company. Oh yeah, I'm an advertising agency. I'm a management consulting firm. That's the what. It's far more interesting, he said, to talk about the why. You know, what is the purpose behind the company? Why do the employees get out of bed every day? So it's important in this storytelling, as part of developing your strategy, to really think about what that purpose is. What is that why? The how tends to be the case studies. You know, what's the reason to believe that purpose? You know, what are the best examples that you've got that people can buy into? And of course the what, as we discussed. But as I've discovered over the years, you know, there's some companies that are doing this really well, and there's some companies that are doing not so well. I like to use the Apple example because, you know, I'm not sure they've ever put it into this process, but they talk about all of these things. Their why is that they're here to think differently. You know, how they do that, well, they've clearly got eye-pleasing design around all of their products, and they're really easy to use. That's their how. I mean, their what, you could argue somewhat boring. They make computers, they make mobile phones, they've developed a great music and video catalogue. But that's not how they'd start talking about their business. They talk about, you know, their essence and their purpose of being about thinking differently and enabling others to be creative and think differently themselves. But I think that stories also should have a bit of conflict and intrigue up front and a bit of a crescendo at the end. So, you know, I like to add two parts to this. When you're developing your elevator pitch, I like to really push businesses to think about if they only had 2 words to describe their business, what would it be? Now, I mentioned before advertising agencies, management consulting firms. Obviously, that's part of my background. But there's over 8,000 advertising agencies registered in Australia. So how do you differentiate yourself? I mean, there's a great agency that I know that they say that they're a relentless growth agency. Now that's really interesting. That's a lean-in moment when you go, wow, that's 2 really interesting words. You're not just an ad agency. No, you know, they're a relentless growth agency. So that's what I mean about creating a bit of intrigue up front. Well, tell me some more about that company. Also at the end, you know, when you tell a natural story, you know, there's normally a bit of a crescendo at the end of a good story. And in this case, I like to talk about, well, what's the end of the story should be what your vision is for that business going forward. So, you know, you end up, and a slide will pop up now, you end up with a framework where you've got the why, the how, the what. The why meaning the purpose, the how meaning the reason to believe, the what, self-explanatory. But if you've got those 2 words up front, you know, we are the relentless growth company. You know, we get out of bed every day to drive unfair market share for our clients is the why. Here's a couple of great examples of how we've done that. And the what we do is this, this, and this. And our aim is to be the number 1 or the best or the biggest or the most admired employer of people. You know, you need to have something that's in words that's quite inspiring for the employees in particular, and then you need to also have a financial aim. Well, I'm aiming to shift the business from this much in sales or this much in revenue or this much in profit from today to 3 or 4 years' time. So that becomes your elevator pitch. That is the story behind the company. And when you put it up here in a framework like this, and I'm going to tell one around John Lewis again, I've created this example from all the great work that they're doing, but you know, I'm sure you know, they're a bit like Myer, very traditional until about 2014, where they decided to really dial up what they did around Christmas, you know, to really explain to people, you know, what a great department store they were, that you could use Christmas to highlight that. And I would say that they are now the inspiring Christmas store. They're not just the Christmas gift store or a retail store. They're the inspiring Christmas store. They get out of bed every day to inspire to find inspiring Christmas gift options for their customers. And they've got a great ad campaign, you can see it on YouTube, with Elton John in it from 2 years ago, 2 Christmases ago. And it shows, it's a bit of a backstory from Elton today, right back to when he was a young boy, and he was given a piano from John Lewis on Christmas Day. You know what they do? Well, they're a retailer. They do in-store retailing, they do online retailing, and I think the other thing they do really well is that they're quite obsessed about their customers and helping them out. And you know, I think their aim would have been something like, we want to become the iconic Christmas gift, Christmas destination, doing double-digit sales growth year on year. So that becomes a really good elevator pitch. And you can see there, coming back to the visualization, deliberately in boxes, circles, ovals, rectangles, because we remember 2, 3, 4, 5 words in a box or a circle or a rectangle. What we don't remember is 60 words in a paragraph. You know, we get to about word 6 or 10, and unless we're a great actor or actress, we can't remember beyond that. So it's really important to break this out so that anybody can picture it in their mind. Okay, it's this, it's the inspiring Christmas store. We find inspiring Christmas gifts for our customers at Christmas time, etc. You know, you can remember that and you can visualize it. The next thing really around business planning is and around a great business plan is understanding what are we going to value in our people going forward to support that elevator pitch and that great vision. And you know, there's a few tricks of the trade here. You know, values that they should be easy to remember, probably only 3 or 4 of them at best. And you know, we should be really trying to tie them back to that vision. And often people talk about culture. Well, culture is made up of, you know, that vision, those values we're talking about, and how we symbolize them, how we behave around them, and what systems and processes we put in place. So as an example, you know, many people will say to me, look, definitely one of the things we value in our people is agility. We want them to be agile. And then all of a sudden the people say, but hang on, all of our systems and processes are really long and cumbersome. That doesn't help us create a culture of agility. Or, you know, we're all about teamwork and collaboration. Oh, great. Well, how come the management team sit upstairs and everyone else sits downstairs? That is not a symbol of collaboration. So it's really important that you work through, you know, and that's what drives culture. Culture is the sum of your values, your vision, and then how you symbolize it, how you behave around it, and how the systems and processes you set up. What I like is that you can actually get all this onto one page. And you've got your elevator pitch, you've got your purpose up there, you've got your vision in there, you've got your values in there. There is a one-page strategy for a business. On the right-hand side, you can see communication. Really, really important to make sure that you keep communicating. This doesn't get tucked in the bottom drawer. It's something you go back to. It's something that's communicated clearly to. It's something that's referred back to all the time. The communication piece, vital. So now we've got 2 key slides. We've got our context on our page and we've got our strategy on a page. The third slide is you need to get your growth plan on a page. And there's actually only 5 ways to grow a company. There's business as usual. You might have 2 or 3 products or services and you might go, actually over the next 3 or 4 years I could grow each of those by X or Y or Z. That's one growth strategy. Then you could develop new capabilities. You could add extra products or services. You could decide to open in another market. You might exist now in Sydney, but you might open in Canberra or Perth or Brisbane or New Zealand or somewhere else overseas. You might decide to buy another company to fast track your growth. So some sort of M&A activity. Or you might do a strategic partnership. You might realise that the quickest way to grow is actually to partner with a company. You don't necessarily want to add that product or service yourself, but you know that your customers are interested in it. So you might form a strategic partnership to offer those services to your clients. So there's the 5 ways to grow. What you then need to do is say, well, if our aim in that vision on the previous one-pager was to go from X to Y in 3 or 4 years, well, let's break it down. Let's figure out exactly how we're going to grow our business across those 5 ways to grow. Makes it a lot easier, makes it much more believable when you say, oh, hang on, we're going to double the business in 4 years. But actually, business as usual was going to grow 10% a year anyway. So there's 40 or 50%. Then the other 50% of growth out of the 100% of growth is going to come from, well, we're going to buy a small business that's going to add to us. We're going to open new capabilities and we're going to open in a new market. Makes it a lot easier to understand. So that's your third slide. We've got our context on a page, we've got our strategy on a page, and now we've got our growth plan on a page. Now, normally you'd have a whole lot of robust information behind this, but hopefully this is giving you an idea of a really easy to use framework for your business that is actionable. And as part of that actionable state, you then need to figure out what are you going to deliver? How are you going to execute with excellence in year one following developing this 3 or 4 year plan? And to me, there's actually 8 core areas of executional excellence. I call them pillars of executional excellence. They're in alphabetical order deliberately, so they're not the order that you'd normally do them in, but they're there to remember. You need to be great at marketing. Any organisation, B2B or B2C, and obviously that's my background and I'd say this, but you need to really figure out what your marketing effort is going to look like to deliver that plan in year one. New business or business development, I've put new business in to keep the alliteration of the alphabet going. But business development is key. Where are your new clients going to come from? How are you going to continue to grow your current clients? What is that business development strategy? What does that look like? Operations, that's where your margin's going to come from. How can we fine tune what we do within the organisation to make sure that this plan can be successful? What other products or services do we need to add, as we mentioned before? And are our current products and services fit for purpose and best practice going forward? Client relationships, our customers, really, really important. What is our strategy around that? Have we developed a plan around those relationships to make sure that we're helping them grow and therefore in turn us grow? Staff, don't really like using the word staff, but again, for the case of the alliteration, that people and culture piece. What do we need to do to make sure that we're living those values and that we're really driving the culture required to deliver on this strategy? And teamwork is those strategic partnerships that we need to help our business grow. That's the teamwork. And I often say, you've got to get these 7 things right. The ultimate outcome, which is the U, so MNOP, RSTU, the ultimate outcome is your financials, will be your sales or your revenue or your profit. Usually when a business is going very, very well, it's because you've got all 7 of these things humming along. I've often had general managers come into my office and, different points of view. I've had, over 10 companies reporting to me and they would say, I'm gonna really drive the business in the next 12 months around people and culture. And I would say, that's one of the 7 things you're gonna do this year. Or that's, I've got really big push on business development. That's going to be the key to our success. No. You've got to get all 7 of these things absolutely right. And that will drive that ultimate outcome, which is, growth or sales or revenue or profit. What I like to do is to do a real gap analysis around this. So, pick marketing to start with. What do we need to continue doing that we've been doing to deliver on that strategy? What do we need to stop doing? And where are our gaps? What do we need to start doing? So do a bit of analysis on each of these areas and then write up, a really simple 1-pager on the goals and tactics you're going to need to do for marketing. By the time you've done that for all 8 of those pillars, marketing, new business, operations, product, client relationships, staff, teamwork, and the ultimate financials, you might end up having 25 goals and 75 tactics. That's 100 things you need to do in year 1 to deliver on your strategy. And you may well get to do all 100 of them. What I like to do at this point is go, what are the 10 absolute must-dos, absolutely critical to deliver our business objectives in year 1 off that strategic plan? So this is our 4th slide, which becomes, your 10 most important things to do next on 1 page. Like to turn this into a bit of a traffic light system, so the circles might become, red if we haven't started, green if we've finished, orange if we're halfway through. But a really easy 1-page reconciliation of the 10 most important things to do in year 1 to deliver on the strategy. Again, I think a really simple thing to do off the back of this is to do 1-pages. What's our 1-page plan for each of those 10 most important things? What is the goal? What is the tactics? Who's going to lead it? Don't just give everything to leave it to the CEO or the founder. How do you spread this across the leadership team to make sure each of these things are delivered? And then what's the action plan going forward? What are the timings around that? When does it need to be done by? What budget are we putting aside for it? So really, at the end of that, this is a really simple framework. We've got 4 key slides that should be pinned up on the wall. That's a really easy reminder of what we're doing from a business planning point of view. Our context on a page, our strategy on a page, our growth plan on a page, and then the 10 most important things we need to do in year one to deliver it. I've been using this framework in various parts for many, many years, but in the last year and a half, I've really pushed forward with this framework, and I normally do this in 4 6-hour sessions. So here we are, having done it in 15 or 20 minutes. I normally do 4 6-hour sessions with leadership teams to really unpick and make sure there's a real robustness around this framework that delivers a really strong business plan going forward. Because it's 4 6-hour sessions, and I've tried to shortcut, and I've tried to do it in different ways, but it always ends up, by the time you have great discussions with leadership teams, at the 4 6-hour mark. So I call it the 24-hour business plan. Hopefully it's given you something for your business to have a look at. If you want to touch base with me, give me any feedback. If you want to chat anything to do with business plans, all my details are there. Would love to talk to you. Enjoy the rest of the day, and thanks for listening.